So my orientation is yellow-red, and I scrambled accordingly. I start by memorizing X centers. And the reason I do this is because if I leave X centers and plus centers back to back, it can get sort of mentally challenging to memorize two center types at a time. And so even though I memorize X first, I'll actually execute them after plus center. So we'll see how that turns out, but I'll start memorizing. So we have, and I go sort of in the clockwise thing unless I could force something fast. So and I'll use my lettering scheme because it doesn't really matter. So BIRMSAEJUNFVOGWKX D, and then we have this thing. So once I go over that, I would review it once. So let's sort of mentally do that. So BIRMSAEJ UOFV. Where are we? Sorry. BIRMSAEJUNFVOGWKXDP. And it's easier to do when I'm actually memorizing with letter pairs, but I usually group those into like 4 plus 4 plus 2, or maybe 5 plus the rest, something that makes sense like that. Usually two big chunks, two sort of big images. And then after that, I go into corners, and in corners we have BT, DK, GN, and this nice LTCT that I could actually just memorize visually. I'll show you it on this cube. So this is the inverse. Super nice. Fun fact, used in Charlie Egan's, I think, OCR mean when the mean was around 17, placing world record 3. Hopefully you enjoy that fun fact. Midges, so we have parity, so we have to do UFUR swap. And so we'll go here, BDL. And let's shoot this to here. On 3 blind, usually you'd want to shoot to some nice targets like this, U-face, but I find in 5 blind, and this is just nothing mathematically proven, but based on instinct, it's better to shoot to things you can force sort of 8 movers with. So this like M or G in my orientation or my lettering scheme. So we're gonna go up here, and we have here, S, W, J, G, K, and then up to here. And since we shot the buffer to this, and the buffer was, or the pseudo buffer was misoriented, we know as soon as we get back there that the cycle's over. That's just a bit more thinking. That's not necessarily needed always, but often my 3 blind thinking transfers over to 5 blind. And so we have to do this sort of dead swap thing in wings. And by the way, this is all sort of, so I do the 2 passive X, then I do corners, midges, wings, corners, midges, wings. So we'll do that. Wings here, T, B, D, E, remember the swap, Y, H, P, S, J, and here let's shoot here. So J, M, L, R, V, N, and M, and we hit that. So I'll just go here, even though maybe forcing something fast would be better, but it's sort of easier to keep track if you go here. So M, A, W, U, O, K, I, G, F, X, A, parity target. Okay, so at this point I would review corners, midges, wings, and then move on to plus. And plus, what I usually do is 4 or 5 words, letter pairs, and then the rest audio. So U, Y, E, M, I, A, R, V. Let's do one more, J, F. So whatever those words would be, I'd probably memorize them in a somewhat story-ish thing. And then the rest would be audio. So X, K, T, D, N, H, L, X, P. I think that's correct. Again, it's hard to do when I'm not in a real solve situation, but so yeah, I just try to one pass that. If there's issues, there's no harm in going over it once more again. You know, you'll add 10 seconds to your solve, but I'm in 5 blind, unless you're competing at a really, really high level. It's good sometimes just take an extra layer of safety, especially in a comp situation where, you know, adding 10 seconds may be the difference between DNF and not DNFing. And so I'd execute these. UY. And again, these aren't the best comms, and I'm obviously working to improve them, but most of the time these are sort of semi-improvised. So there's a second one, third one. I use UF, by the way, if that wasn't obvious. Now let's rotate into this, even though you could probably do something rotationless. And now we're going to go to UBLX. There's probably a better comm for that, but that's the one I use in 4-blind, so it sort of transfers. Here, again, this is a 4-blind comm. Maybe better to do something else, but don't have to stress out about it. And here you can shoot it anywhere, but that's sort of the fastest. So let's go to corners. This is a good comm to know. I don't know what's standard these days, but sometimes I see this like RUL 9 mover or however many moves it is, but it is D, R prime, super nice. There's some other decent options, but that's the one I used. And we're going to leave this until the end since it's our nice LTCT. And I mean, thinking about it, there's not much better you can do comm plus parity. So let's do this. Actually, sorry. Midges first, although it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. So we have this U perm. Now we can do our wings. This probably isn't the best comm for that, but that's okay. And this parity target, which I'm not that confident with the ALG yet, so usually I just do this setup into the algorithm on Stanley's sheet, and we have this LTCT to end. That's a solve.
Hello, I'm Yuki Yamamoto, Japanese blind cuber. I had some NRs of blinds for it, but now I'm not the fastest in Japan. But let me explain my 5-blind method of memorizing and solving. About 6 or 7 years ago, I focused on 5-blind and practiced it a lot, but I haven't practiced it recently, so I'm not fast now and my method is not efficient, I think. Another reason my method is out of date is that I have practiced huge blind recently. 6 blind, 7 blind, 8 blind, and 9 blind. Finally, I achieved 9 blind PB records with sub 1 hour, so I can't afford to change my method. So, my buffers are corner is ULB, middle edge is DF, wing edge is DFR, X center is ULB, and center is UL. I think it's very old buffer. The memorizing order is X center, plus center, wing edge, review them, and finally I memorize corner and middle edge like 3 blind. Then I get blindfolded and solve the middle edge and corner first. After that I solve the same order as memorize, X center, plus center, wing edge. If I have parity, I use parity algorithm at the end. I use this parity algorithm. Yes, I think it's a slow algorithm, but I use it. So if I detect there's parity when memorizing 3 blind paths, I leave the corner ULB and ELB swaps and middle edge DF and UB swaps and do this algorithm. And I and many Japanese people use Japanese letter hiragana to blind letter scheme. Do you know hiragana? Hiragana corresponds to alphabet in English, which is basic components of Japanese words. They consist of one of several consonants and one of 5 vowels a, I, U, E, O. For example, K and A make ka and K and I make ki. I use one letter to one sticker, just like the spec letter scheme, and combine 2 letters to create one image. For example, this sticker is sa and this one is ka. And I create an image this to this, saka, soccer or soccer ball. I use hiragana with same consonant to the stickers of same faces. For example, I allocate hiragana with k, kaki, kaki, kuke to F face stickers and hiragana with s, sa, shi, su, se to L face stickers. Of course, I use the Roman numeral system for memorization. I create one image from 2 letters and put 4 images into one place. So for center there will be 2 or 3 places. For wing edge there will be 3 places. So let's start memorizing. First, I memorize X center. Here is buffer and buffer is solved. And I don't use floating buffer, so I start memorizing from this piece. When I memorize center, I fix the order to memorize, and I put my finger on the sticker I memorized right before in each face. So these 2 are ta, ka, na, ra, chi, shi, tsu. I create one story from 8 letters and put to one place. And key. I face the U face sticker. I skip it. So ki, ru, ni, se, u, nu, de, de. Put them to second place. E, ke, ri. Put them to third place and X center is finished. Then go to birth center, the same as X center. I start from this part. Ta, ni, ka, chi, ki, nu, sa, ke, ra, te, a, se, ri, ne, ru, na, re, shi. Percentile is finished. Then go to wing edge. From this, ne, su, ta, tsu, ku, ri, ru, e, a, se, ni, ra, te, na, sa, u. And cycle break occurs. Now I do some quick calculations in my head. I count how many cycle breaks happened with my left big toe, and I count how many parts are already solved with my right big toe. If the number of letters I already memorized is less than 22 plus left toe minus right toe, there must be other cycles. In this case, I memorized 22 letters and it is less than 22 plus 1 cycle break 23. So I'm going to search for other cycles or solve the pieces. So I find that I haven't memorized FUR pieces. So ka, chi, ka. I memorized 25 letters, and 22 plus 2 cycle break is 24. It's less than 25, so I finished memorizing. I reviewed the whole thing up to this and then memorized the last part. I memorized corner pieces using letter pairs like 3 blind. From this, U, S, A, N, K, Ni, E, Se, Da. There is parity. If there are COs and there is parity, I memorize CO as 2 letters. For example, Ni, E, or Se, Da. For middle edge, I memorize by sound, finger, and visual memory. From this, Ru, Ta, Ki, Shi, Su, Ri, Ni, A, Ne, Na, Sa. Memorizing part is finished. Then I start executing. First I execute middle edge from here to here to here. Here to here. Here to here. And here to here. And here to here. This one is the last part. To leave UV and DF swap, I execute this 3-cycle algorithm adding UV. And then I execute corner from here to here to here. From here to here. Here to here. Here to here. Same as middle edge, to leave ULB and URB swap, I execute this 3-cycle algorithm adding URB here to here. Then I execute X center here to here. 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 And here to here. 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 And this one. Plus center here to here. 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 And here to here. And here to here. And here to here. Then wing wedge here to here. and here to here, and here to here, 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 and here to here, and this one. And execute parity algorithm for corner and middle edge. And that's all. And there are many store algorithms, but I'm too lazy to change them. And thank you for your listening.
My memo stage order, first placenta, buffers UF, and use place memo method. Next, X center, buffers ULB, use place memo method. Next, wing edge, buffers defer, use place memo method. Next, corner, buffers ULB, and use letter pair method. Last, middle edge, buffers DF, use visual memo and sound memo. During the actual solve, I need review stage. So, first placenta memo, first X center memo, first wing edge memo, second placenta memo, second X center memo, second wing edge memo. Last, corner, middle edge memo. Last part is 3x3x3 blend for it. And execution order, middle edge, corner. This is 3x3x3 blend for it part. Middle edge, corner, wing edge, X center, last placenta. Execute stage, first middle edge. And this clamp corners number, odd number. So middle edge is UV parts and UL parts, sweep execution. Middle edge finish. Next, corner. Last corner path left, URB. Corner finish, next wing edge. wing edge finish, left wing edge parity. Next, X center. X center finish. Last plus center. Plus center finish. Last parity execution.
Yo, this is Willem. Thank you for having me. My method is 3-style. My buffers are UFR, UFR, UF, UF, UFR. I start with corner memo so that I know whether I have corner/midge parity, and then I can do a memo swap. Yeah, so I memo corners, wings, midges, plus centers, X centers, and then I execute it in reverse. So let's scramble. Blue, red, sorry, this is my orientation. Blue, red, starting with corners. This is my buffer, so I'm gonna cycle break to URB, and I'm just gonna use specs for the rest of my solve. So BH, DO, KR, N, and then I'm gonna break into this twist. So I'll just do NG, and then I'll have U parity at the end. I think none of these parities are great, but yeah. So NG, and then I'll have U parity. Now onto wings. H, and then since I have parity, I'm gonna do a memo swap. So this is HB, DI, EL, TG, Then we have N, and I'm going to cycle break to Q. So NQ, PF, VR, and then we're back to Q. And now I would cycle break to K because it's the fastest target. So, and also it's quite likely that we'll have this as our parity target in the end, in case we have wing parity. So that's why I would cycle break to K now. So QK, JX, AW, US, OM, and then we're back at K. So on to midges. Again, we have to memo swap. So we have BD, P, then I would cycle break to Q, LH, GW, NK, OA, then we'd be done. Now onto plus centers. I skip the U targets and leave them for the end, which minimizes your cycle breaks. Shoutouts to Ezra who taught me this. So UE, IQ, then we go to N, NJ, VO, FW, PX, RL, then we have the U target, MA, and then we just have an H in the end and we're done. Sorry, never mind. HD and then T at the end. There we go. Yep, now X centers. We have IM, FQ, GB, NU, RJ, VS, KW, OX, and then we're done. DT at the end. So starting with execution, we're going to start with X centers. We have IM, which is just an 8 mover with this insertion. Then we had FQ, which is also just pure with a wide move like this. Then we had GB, which is again just an 8 mover, pretty basic. Then we have NU, and here I think of it as a U2 setup, and then there's a cancellation at the end, which is like this. Then RJ, again just an 8 mover. Then we have VS, which is a U prime setup, and then 8 mover like this. Then we have KW, where I just do a D setup to KX. And then for OX, it's actually a small D prime setup, again to KX, the case that we just had. And then we have DT at the end, which I just do pure as an 8 mover like this. Now onto our plus centers. We have UE. I rotate for this case, and then it's pure. Then we have IQ. Actually could have done like stayed over here, but I'm not that advanced. U prime setup like that. Then NJ, just pure. Then we have VO. I do a small D prime setup to KV basically. Then FW, This is actually pure with a strange wide move like this. And then we have px, which is a small L prime setup, and L2 at the end. Then we have RL. I do this as like a M setup, and then we have RL, and then we have MA, which is just pure, and then we have HD, again pure, and then we have just T at the end, which I'll just do like this. Alright, now on to midges. We have BD, which is basically a U-perm, just with slices, single slice. Now we had PQ, cycle breaking to Q, just pure. Then we have LH, again just pure. GW, which I do like this, I do a U and then M prime, and then I have like this. And we have NK, which is an M prime, but you do it as like an M2, like that, and OA, pure. Alright, now on to wings. We have HB, which I do pure. Then we had DI, which is wide L move like this. And EL, which is an F prime setup, and then like this. Then we have TG, which is just a D setup, and then cancellation at the end. And then we had NQ, cycle breaking to Q. PF, which is an R prime setup. And then you finish off with like a wide D kind of thing. Then we have VR, which is a D setup, and you can cancel into it like this. Then we have Q, and I cycle break to K, which is D setup. JX, D prime setup. Now we have AW. I do this as a setup, getting this wing over here, and then it's pure like this. You know, there's way better allocs for these cases that are like AW, US, IQ, IA. I can recommend Michael Tripody's sheet for those, but I haven't taken the time to learn those yet. And then we have US, which I do just at like a 3L wide, and then it's U2, and at the end finish like this. Now we have OM. To do this pure, O, like that. And now we have K parity. Yeah, I just do like a rotation, and then it's the basic parity case. And we'll rotate back. Now we're onto corners. We have BH, pure com, DO, U prime setup, KR, which is an L wide, and then like this. And we have NG, and then we have U parity to finish it off. Yeah, not the best flow on a 5x5, but yeah. Shoutouts to Konstantin Jene or Squarey for generating a bunch of my parity out.